There's something special about using a Fujifilm X Pro3 in 2025, even though it's not a brand new camera. And even though Fujifilm has released newer models since then, the X Pro3 still manages to offer something different, something meaningful. It's more than just a camera, it's an experience. Let's start with a bit of background. The X Pro3 was released in late 2019. At the time, it was seen as a bold move by Fujifilm. It introduced a new approach to digital photography, one that leaned more into the feeling of using a film camera. One of its standout features was the hidden rear screen. Some people loved it, others were confused by it, but for a certain type of photographer, this change made perfect sense. Now, fast forward to late 2023. That's when I picked mine up secondhand, of course. By then, the camera had already been on the market for 4 years. The hype had died down. But my interest was only just beginning. I'd been researching the X Pro series for a while. I kept reading reviews, watching videos, browsing forums, and one camera kept showing up again and again: the X Pro3. There was something about the way people described it. Words like soul, character, and joy were used more than megapixels or specs. That's rare in the world of tech. Reviews. Eventually I found one listed on Facebook Marketplace. It looked mint. The seller seemed genuine. But that's when I came across something that almost changed my mind: the ribbon cable controversy. If you've heard anything about the X Pro3, chances are you've heard about the ribbon cable. It's part of the unique flip-down screen design. The ribbon connects the screen to the body, allowing it to pivot. But over time and with heavy use, it's been known to fail. Not always, but enough times that it became a talking point across forums and review channels. Once I learned about it, I hesitated. I even messaged the seller the night before I was supposed to pick it up. I told them I was having second thoughts. To their credit, they were honest and understanding. The seller even mentioned that they had connections at Fujifilm Australia, and that repairs for this issue were often handled quickly and at no cost. That reassurance helped. But more than that, I realized I still wanted to experience the camera for myself. I was willing to take the risk. After all, the camera was in excellent condition, and if I looked after it, I figured I might avoid any issues. How to handle the screen and that risk. One tip the seller gave me stuck with me. They said that if I wanted to lower the risk of damaging the ribbon, I should avoid folding the screen past 90 degrees. That might not guarantee safety, but it could definitely help. And honestly, that advice has worked for me so far. But here's the thing. I don't really use the screen that often. That's part of the reason I was drawn to the X Pro3 in the first place. The hidden screen changes the way you shoot. It discourages chimping constantly, checking your photos after every shot. With this camera, you tend to keep the screen closed. You look through the viewfinder. You trust your settings. You focus on capturing the moment. And when you get home, that's when you see what you've created. There's a kind of magic in that. A digital camera that feels like film now. Don't get me wrong. The X Pro3 isn't a film camera. It's fully digital, but it mimics some of the best parts of film shooting. When you use it, you slow down. You compose more carefully. You think before you press the shutter. You're not distracted by menus or playback screens. It's just you and the subject. For someone like me, who grew up on digital photography, this is about as close as I've come to replicating the film experience. And I love it. When I get home and upload the photos, it's like opening a roll of film. I don't always remember what I shot. I don't always know if they turned out the way I expected. And that surprise, that excitement is something I hadn't felt in years. The joy of shooting without pressure. I'm not using this camera for client work. It's not part of a business or a job. It's purely for enjoyment, and that changes everything. When I shoot with the X Pro3, I'm not chasing perfection. I'm chasing feeling. Sometimes the photos are slightly out of focus. Sometimes the framing is off. But more often than not, they turn out better than expected. And even when they don't, I don't feel like I've lost anything. It's not about showing off. It's not about winning likes. It's about shooting for myself. If I come home thinking I got some amazing shots, and later find out I didn't, well, it's disappointing. Sure, but it's also part of the process. I'm not reporting to a client. I'm not trying to meet a deadline. I'm just enjoying the act of photography. The size and feel, still relevant in 2025. Some people think the X Pro3 is a large camera, but that's not really the case. Here are the actual dimensions. 141 by 83 by 46 millimeters. The body alone weighs 497 grams. Now let's compare that to the popular Fujifilm X100 series, specifically the newer X100V, which measures 128 by 75 by 55 millimeters and weighs 521 grams. That's right, the X Pro3 body is actually lighter than the X100V. If you add a 23mm f2 lens to it, which gives you the same 35mm equivalent focal length as the X100 series, the total weight comes to about 677 grams. That's only 156 grams heavier than the X100V. It's a tiny difference in the real world, and that extra weight actually helps the camera feel more balanced in hand. The X Pro3 has a built-in finger grip. It's subtle, but it works. There's also a nice thumb rest on the back. I've added an extra thumb grip for more comfort. but I've never needed a third-party finger grip. The way it sits in your hand, it just feels right. In fact, I own both the X-T5 and the X100V, but the X fits me better than either of them. It's the one I pick up most often when I head out the door. That shutter sound. Let's talk about something simple, something small, but something that matters more than specs. The shutter sound. The X Pro 3's shutter sounds like it came straight from the 1970s. It has this crisp mechanical click that's just satisfying. Every time I press it, I smile a little. It reminds me why I love photography in the first place. This might seem like a small detail, but it's the kind of thing that separates a camera you use and forget from one you truly connect with. The sensor, more than enough. The X Pro 3 uses Fujifilm's 26.1 megapixel X-Trans for sensor. By today's standards, that's not headline grabbing. The X100V has 40 megapixels, so does the X-T5. But here's the truth. You don't need more than 26 megapixels for most kinds of photography, especially for street, travel, and documentary work. This sensor delivers everything you need. Great dynamic range, excellent color, rendering, low noise performance, and beautiful JPEGs straight out of the camera. If you like Fujifilm's film simulations, you'll love shooting with the X Pro 3. It's almost like editing in Camera. You can dial in your look and focus entirely on composition. And at the end of the day, you'll have files that are easy to work with, whether you're printing or sharing online. The viewfinder experience. The X Pro 3 features a hybrid viewfinder, one of Fujifilm's signature features. You can switch between an optical viewfinder, OVF, and an electronic one, EVF, with a flick of a switch. The OVF gives you a more natural, real-world view with frame lines. It's perfect for anticipating motion and capturing moments as they unfold. The EVF, on the other hand, gives you a live preview of your exposure in film simulation. You choose what fits your shooting style, and again, it's this balance of old-school charm and modern tech that makes the X Pro 3 stand out even in 2025.